Hi everyone, today I'm going to be giving you a run through of the classroom.cloud safeguarding monitoring module. Within classroom.cloud we do offer three separate modules, including classroom management for teachers, online safety and safeguarding that we'll be talking about today, and also a range of IT management tools. So classroom.cloud is a great tool to support schools with their KICSI guidance and requirements, the emphasis around device-based monitoring to synergize well with your internet web filters. So I've just logged into my portal now, and let's just pretend I'm a DSL. Logging in here will present me with my safeguarding icon here. Now I'm set up as an admin so I can see all the other features, but as a DSL I would just see safeguarding. When we're setting up our school, we have a section in the users. When I invite a member of staff, we have two safeguarding roles to specify. A safeguarding user will be your DSLs who are just accessing the console, monitoring for incoming safeguarding data, and dealing with any cases that are raised to us. A safeguarding admin, however, is someone that has the ability to customize, tweak and adjust the settings of the safeguarding module to make it more suitable to your school's environment. We have a default template in place for a lot of the settings, however we are aware that schools have their own preferences and want to adjust what they capture, the severity levels and so forth, and we give you the ability to do so. Additionally, when you're setting up these users, you can select which sites they are available to. This may be relevant for multi-academy trusts or clusters of schools. You may have a DSL who's based just at one particular school and they will only see the data produced by students in that school. However, some trusts will have a central safeguarding team, so I can set this member of staff up to have the visibility over all three of the schools in my group, and that allows them to run reports and analyze data produced from all three schools as a collective. However, if you are just at that one school, you can only see safeguarding data produced by those students in that school. Moving on to the safeguarding console, we have concerns in there. There is a report a concern feature which I will show you, where students can raise their own concerns to the safeguarding team. If you want to, you can enable a feature on your student devices called Report a Concern. Now this icon will appear on their devices. This is also supported on Chromebooks and iPads. Students can select the Report a Concern option here, which will give them a form to fill out about any concerns or problems that they might be experiencing in school. It allows them to enter in their name. They can give us a reason of what's concerning them. It may be that they're being bullied. It may be that they are having problems at home. It may be that they're concerned about a fellow student. Now, at the bottom, it will allow you in the system to define who are your report of concern contacts. Generally, it will be the safeguarding team, maybe head teachers. And the reason that we have this option is that some students may feel have a certain level of trust or confidence speaking to a member of staff that they've dealt with before, and giving them the option to choose who they want to raise their concern to hopefully gives them that added confidence to do so. Now, when concerns are raised by a student, they are raised within the classroom management console for DSLs. Within the safeguarding section, we've got phrase matches and concerns. So within here, when I clear my filters, I can see that this one has just been created by John here. So this is the brand new one from John. He's on the Surface Go in Classroom 1 under the school number 1. The safeguarding groups he's assigned to, the concern text, so he has written I'm being bullied, and now we can assign that a group such as bullying. We can then put a priority level on it, how high of urgency we deem this case to be. Status is new, it's now in progress and I'm dealing with it, and I can say speaking to parents. Now, any other DSLs using the system are aware that I'm speaking to the parents and dealing with this one, and we can choose notified parents, and if we need to, we can reassign this case to another DSL if needed. Further to that, we can export the data. It can be copy and pasted in plain text, compiled into an email, or printed off, saved to a PDF. And then additionally, if you have the CPOMS or My Concern integration set up, there will be an option here to export this particular case into CPOMS for you to store that for the future and with any other safeguarding concerns. Moving on now to the phrase matching. This is the device-based monitoring that is really key in ensuring student safety. So with our software installed on your devices, it will capture anything that is typed in, anything copy and pasted, or anything contained within the title of a web page. And that's very important because the web page titles may be where a student has received a link to a website, but they haven't physically typed in anything concerning, but we still want to monitor that the same way. And additionally, the powerful aspect of this tool is it doesn't matter where the students type this information in. If they type it into a Word document, an email, a Teams message, a notepad, we can capture it, and it doesn't matter what browser they may be using, etc. So, selecting my phrase matches, this will now display for me all of the keyword data that is being triggered. Within classroom.cloud, we have a phrase library of over 20,000 keywords and phrases. We have 20 different supported languages. Any of those keywords that are matched upon students typing, copy and pasting, or in the title of a web page will create a new record in here for us to review. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of information displayed on each record. Looking in here at the phrase matches that we have captured, this is going to show lots of information for us and allow us to review the situation and the context from where a student has triggered some inappropriate or potentially harmful content. Within here, I'm looking at my student James, the details he's used to log on to the device. It's then going to show us what he's been typing in or matching. So in the matched column, it's going to show us the keyword that was triggered in our phrase library and thus creating this record. It's also going to show us where he did it, and the little icon will show you whether it was typed, copy and pasted, or in a web page title. That's really useful to understand where they did it, and again, highlighting device-based monitoring power is that this one was in Notepad, this one was even in the Windows Explorer. This typed column, this will show you a little bit more information, a bit more context, such as the full sentence that was typed, or additionally it could be the full web page title on a Google search or the name of a website that contains a harmful keyword. So matched is what has triggered, typed is a little bit more context. Safeguarding groups. These are custom groups that you can set up as a school. Typically, schools will set these up as year groups, so it will allow me to filter and report on safeguarding data by the age of my students. You could also create a group for vulnerable students, and by filtering that down, you can narrow down all the keyword data that's being triggered by known vulnerable students and keep a closer eye on them, and have dedicated members of the safeguarding team looking out for those keywords. Recently, we added in the class and the teacher field. This will display for us, in line with the classroom management software that we offer in classroom.cloud, what name of the class they were in at the time and with what teacher. So it might say Maths Period 1 with Mr. Smith, our teacher, and that's really useful for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it will allow you to boost communication between the teaching staff and the safeguarding staff. They can communicate with the teacher to say, were you aware that this student was doing this in your lesson? Additionally, they may ask the teacher if they can provide any further context around the behaviour of that lesson and whether there was anything noteworthy with that student's behaviour that would help us to understand the situation. Further to that, a lot of feedback we got from schools with our safeguarding is that they do naturally have lessons which produce safeguarding matches, albeit false positives, because of the topic that they are learning about. Now, if we've got lessons such as drugs education, sex education, those lessons will produce keywords that flag up in here. We're aware that that is on topic and not a concern for us, but they will be produced nonetheless. What classroom.cloud allows you to do is narrow down your data by the name of that class and with that teacher, and also with the date and time of when it was actually produced. So a teacher can say, to the safeguarding team, FYI, I'm teaching a drugs education lesson at 11 o'clock on Tuesday. This is the name of my class, and any subsequent safeguarding data that is produced within that corresponds with those students in that lesson can be set to a false positive, potentially in bulk, like I'm doing here, selecting multiple keywords. I can select false alarm, and I can say drugs education lesson, and it's like a pre-authorized false alarm that we can log there. Moving on, we can see the device that the student was using. Mine are virtual machines, so they deleted. However, yours will display for you the name of the desktop, the laptop, the Chromebook perhaps, and that will allow you to obviously see where they're using one of the devices in an IT suite. Was it one of maybe the one-to-one devices that have been provided to students? It will also show you where that device is based in our device groups, such as IT Suite 1, IT Suite 2, Laptop Trolley 1. It will also show us the site, and again, mentioning earlier that we could be looking at safeguarding data across multiple schools all at once. This will allow us to identify which school that student is based at, and we may well then need to alert the DSLs who are on the ground at that school specifically about this data. Time and date is of course very important. Safeguarding matches, when they are triggered, come through practically immediately with a few seconds delay. The only time you wouldn't receive safeguarding data immediately is if a device didn't have an internet connection, perhaps off-site. Now in that scenario, the software does cache the data locally, and as soon as the device re-establishes an internet connection, it will send the safeguarding data back to the portal for us to review. Next in the list, we've got the last updated column. This will allow us as the DSLs to keep track of our cases and when they were last updated, and ensure that we are keeping on top of our open list. So these ones here are new to us, and they say never because they are yet to have any actions taken or updates applied to them. However, you can see down here that my last update on this case was on the 1st of August, and we can also therefore sort our list by how long cases have been open without action. Allowing us to identify which ones we possibly need to action sooner rather than later. Moving back over to the left hand side, this priority score, this is based or derived from the keyword itself. Now, getting a little bit ahead of myself, you can customize keywords priority scores because different actions are taken based on the priority. These high severity keywords here in orange, they will capture a screenshot of the student's screen when they triggered the keyword, which allows you to review what they were doing at the time, what was on the screen, and providing you additional context there. Now, classroom.cloud goes a step further. With these urgent keywords here, usually reserved for topics around suicide and self-harm, they actually record 50 seconds of the screen. Now, this recording will be 25 seconds before the keyword was triggered and 25 seconds after the keyword was triggered, which gives you an awful lot of context. What did they do building up to this particular keyword being typed in? But then crucially, what did they do afterwards? Now, that may show you the rest of the sentence they typed. It may show you if they're in a chat with someone, the next few messages in the chat. If they're searching on the internet, you can see whether they quickly delete what they're doing or whether they're actually looking on a website relating to that harmful topic. Further to that, it's really good evidence for the school as well. Right, so now that I can see all my data, I'm going to click on a particular record here. Now, this will allow me to review all the information in a nice box here. So this is what was typed, and this is when it was triggered. It is an urgent keyword here. Kerry Smith was the logged on student at the time, and this keyword relates to the suicide category. If it was done on a website, we can hyperlink you to the website here because you may not know the website, may not be familiar with it, and it will allow you to understand a little bit more on the context, whether it was really a concern for us. Is it a harmful website, or is it maybe a false positive after closer inspection? This will detail for you the device they were using, where it was based in school, and also which school it was a part of, again just relating to that multi-academy trust environment or cluster of schools. It will show you the name of the class. So mine says Classroom 1, but yours may say Maths Period 2, History Period 4, and will allow you to identify what class they were in and with which teacher as well, and again allows you to communicate with that teacher about this situation if needed. Safeguarding groups. This is again relating back to the custom user group, so it could show you the age of the student, the year group that they're in. It may also flag for you that they are a vulnerable student and allows you to identify that when you're reviewing this case. It will give you a description of what this keyword means or this phrase. Now, with over 20,000 keywords and phrases in the library, with supported languages, acronyms, slang terms, it is going to be very hard for anybody to know what all of those keywords mean. So the description box will help you out there and explain what it is that that keyword is referring to. This is the types section, so again, the keyword that we've matched is up here and highlighted in red for you, but that is actually the full search that was made into Google, and it may give you a little bit of extra context. Down here in the status box, all cases are raised as new to begin with, naturally, and as we're dealing with them, we can mark them as in progress. And then once we've followed up accordingly, it's either completed, we've completed what we need to do, or we've acknowledged that it's a false alarm on closer inspection and not a concern for us. Now you'll see the change of status, so I can see that I changed that to in progress a while ago, and I've also left a message to say speaking with parents. And again, just ensuring that DSLs are on the same wavelength with each other. We don't need to duplicate any management of these particular cases, and we want to be efficient and effective with this tool. Now on the right hand side, I've got the screenshot. So this is going to show me exactly what the student was looking at when they triggered that keyword, and we can see from this one that they were typing it into Google. But further to that, this is where the video comes in handy. In the video, we've got that 25-second clip. I can make this full screen if I want to, and at 25 seconds they have typed in and searched for that keyword. Now what did they do afterwards? It may be that they've accessed that website, it may be that they're sending a message to another student, and we can choose to download that video if we need to. At the top right here, we've got something called risk analysis. Now I spoke earlier about the priority or severity level of keywords, the low, medium, high and urgent, but that is based on the keywords at face value. Now the risk analysis takes into account additional factors and criteria and gives them a score out of 100. The first one being, was the device supervised or not? In line with the classroom management, once again, teachers on the ground monitoring students should be a pretty good deterrent for students to look at anything inappropriate during lesson time. Therefore, if students are going to look at anything that they know will get them in trouble, they'll probably wait until they're unsupervised, maybe in a common room or on a one-to-one device. And therefore, any concerning safeguarding keywords that are triggered on an unsupervised device get a higher score. Within the system, you can mark websites and applications as low risk, medium risk and high risk. Examples of high risk websites could be social media, where they could be coming across a lot more kind of bullying and other harmful content. So any keywords that are triggered in those websites would naturally carry a higher score or risk concern with them compared to somebody who's typing into a Word document or a sticky note. Keyword severity, naturally an urgent keyword is going to get a higher score than a low severity keyword, but we are also taking into account the history of that student. Now with that particular student, let's say Kerry, if they have triggered multiple keywords today or they've triggered multiple keywords from the same category this week, those stack up and generate a higher score. In contrast to a student who may have accidentally triggered one keyword this week, someone who's triggered 10 different drug-related phrases will naturally get a higher score. So that's all the information that we're displaying, and it's an awful lot of context to assist your DSLs in understanding, crucially, what the student was doing and whether it's a concern to them. Now, at this point, I need to then export my data out. I can either copy it all to plain text, paste it in somewhere, maybe adjust the data set if I need to. I can compile it into an email and raise it to SLT, head teacher, maybe even parents if I need to. I can print it off, or I can save it to a PDF. Some people save it to a shared drive. And then finally, if you want to integrate with your CPOMs or My Concern tenancy, there will be a big button here allowing you to export directly into those systems. A really nice feature for the DSLs is that they can therefore just export this whole case with all the notes that have been left around it and attach it directly against Kerry Smith's record within CPOMs and align it with any other safeguarding data not relating to school technology. So that is how we review a case. Now, looking at all of this data, everybody has their own way of reviewing information. What's really good about classroom.cloud is there's lots of ways that you can group your data. At the moment, I'm looking at it on a user basis, so I can see James, I can see Kerry, and I can see Matt. And that could be across multiple devices. It's just where they have logged in. However, I could change that to be day, and I could look at my safeguarding data on a chronological basis. I could look at it on a category basis. So I could look at all my bullying keywords, and then I could look at all my drug keywords. I could look at it on a class basis, my own custom safeguarding groups such as year groups. I can do it on the priority score, severity score, or leave it as users. Further to that, I've got the ability to filter my data by pretty much all of the fields that we've got here. So I could specify that I only want to see the new and in progress keywords, because completed and false alarm, whilst we want to retain them within the safeguarding console for historical analysis, we only want to see the new and in progress cases in this main console here, so that we're not filling it up with cases that are completed. Here are the different categories that we are monitoring for, or all the keywords are specified in. In here, I'm going to specify self-harm, suicide, and well-being. Obviously very important categories, and now I have narrowed down my safeguarding keyword data to those topics. And that's really important there to find out what people are talking about on those particular topics. I could say I only want it to be typed in keywords or web page titles. It could be just the urgent severity keywords, so really just the high end of the concern words here. I could also do it by risk score based on the different schools. So again, do you want to monitor safeguarding data as a collective across all the schools, or maybe just at one of the schools? You can even do it down to your custom safeguarding groups. You could even do it based on a device group or even a class and teacher. Now, when you're reporting on this data, you can choose whether you want to see just today's data, yesterday, this week, months, or even between a custom start and end date. Further to that, we offer the ability to do it on a time basis. Now, this will allow you to choose safeguarding data or review safeguarding data that's done at a certain point in the day. An example of where this can be very useful is if devices go home with students. If students are taking school devices home with them, you may wish to monitor or report on safeguarding data that is produced outside of school versus inside school, and you may get a different variety of keyword data there. Now, to make it even easier for DSLs to find the keyword data they're looking for, we have this nice smart search tool. Now, I could search for a student name like James, and there's all of James's keyword data. I could type a particular category like drugs, and here are all of my drug-based keywords that have been triggered across the network. I could type in a source like Google, and there's all of my Google triggered keywords. I could type in a name of a device, a name of a student or teacher. I could even type in a very specific keyword, and I found every example there and who it was triggered by, just to make your life really easy. So that is how people will see their open cases and manage their workflow, and of course group your safeguarding data however you see fit. But the other side of safeguarding would be the analysis and the review of the data that were being produced. Now, it's quite hard in this list to paint a picture of what's going on, common trends and topics. So introducing now the phrase cloud. This phrase cloud will display for us all of the keywords that are being triggered across our network. It's a really great way to get a snapshot of larger quantities of data, particularly with large secondary schools, maybe even in multi-academy trusts where you're looking at safeguarding data across the board. This will display for you all the keywords, and the bigger the word, the more times it has been triggered. So you can see these ones just the once or twice, the big words in the middle 9 times, 3 times, 2 times, and essentially I can click on any word and it's going to bring up for me a list now of everybody that has triggered that specific keyword, what device they were using, where they're based, did they do it on the website, did they do it on Notepad, what did they search for, when was it, and we can even choose to view those cases now in a queue. So I can cycle down those 9 different cases and review each and every one. Additionally, where a certain keyword might stand out as naturally a false positive, I could take all of those examples of that keyword being triggered, change the status to false alarm for a particular reason if I wanted to. I can also choose to filter down data, so I may only want a phrase cloud for this week or this month. It may even be around a certain group, so you could, and some schools have done this, is produce a phrase cloud on a weekly basis per year group, or as a trust you could do a weekly phrase cloud per school in your trust, and that will allow you to have a look here, analyze the keyword data and see if there's any standout topics or trends that students are speaking about, whether we maybe need to address a problem with bullying, maybe there's an increase in discussion around drugs, and we can see who is it that's actually talking about these topics and who they might be discussing that with. Further to that, we have some nice dynamic graphs as well. These graphs will allow you to split safeguarding data out by user, so we can see the counts of safeguarding data between our different users. And if I click on that, it will show me all the examples that were triggered by Sarah. I can see all the ones triggered by James. Now I could also look at that on a category basis, and we can see the split of our keyword data based on the different categories. And here I may see that actually there's a lot of talk in the drug category. That looks like it's between Sarah and James, and maybe they need to we need to have a conversation with them and address what's going on if there's any concerns there. But again, we can also look at that on a daily basis, a chronological basis, what days have triggered the most data, and that may also highlight for you where there's a particular lesson that has produced a lot of false positives, and you can go in here and say we've received so much more safeguarding data today, why is that? And that will allow you to have a look at it, so you can do it on all the different fields as well if you want to. So that is the role of the safeguarding user. I did mention at the start we've got a safeguarding admin role. So within our school or our organisation, we have a range of settings relating to safeguarding. First and foremost, just to mention the ability here to authorise access to CPOMs and My Concern, two very popular solutions for DSLs managing all kinds of safeguarding data, and the ability for us to export directly into those is a big tick in the box. So within our safeguarding settings, one thing to note before I proceed is that these settings can be adjusted on a user basis. I mentioned safeguarding groups earlier, where I could do it by year group as an example, so I could change all of these settings based on the age of the student or however you've grouped them in your school. First and foremost is the phrase and keyword list. This will allow you to see every single phrase and keyword that we are monitoring for within the system. And it will allow me to go down and I can see the explanation of every single keyword. And if I wanted to, I could very simply change the severity of that keyword. Maybe you have a different preference to our default. Maybe you have a greater concern over a keyword than we do, and you'd like to actually get the screenshot or even the video playback on an urgent keyword if you want to. What's really great in here is the user-defined keywords as well. You can add in your own, my test phrase, give it a description, because if it's a slang term or a new topic or trend online, not everybody's going to know what it means, so you can give it a description for everybody else. Stick it in a category. There is an other category if it doesn't fall into one that you think, and there's also the priority range there as well for your keyword. It's really good that Net Support and classroom.cloud provide you the ability to see all of the keywords that we're monitoring. You can search for keywords as well to see if they are in there. Let's use acid as an example, and there's various kinds of acid keywords we're monitoring for. Other solutions may not show you the keywords that they're monitoring for, and that would be a concern if you don't know that they are or aren't monitoring for those keywords. At least in Net Support you can identify if we do or don't, and you can either add it in yourself or request it with us. Something else to note is that in the software you will automatically get the latest keywords from Net Support every time classroom.cloud is updated. We usually push out an update for the software on average once a month, and our dedicated team here that are always reviewing our keyword data will regularly be adding in new keywords. Phrasing keyword settings. It allows you to adjust the sensitivity of the keyword detection. Now 100% has got to be a case sensitive match, so we're not allowing any margin of error there when students are typing or searching for inappropriate content potentially. If we scale it down a little bit, it will allow slight errors, slight spelling mistakes, maybe a full stop in the middle of the word. There's not really a correct answer on this. It's more of a preference of how much you want to allow potentially slip through the net, or how specific you want to be on that. Additional language packs, as I mentioned, there are 19 additional language packs, I believe, on top of English. So if you've got certain demographics in your school concerned that they might be using their native language to get around the keyword detection, you can enable those language packs in there. These are the sources that we are monitoring for, so anything typed, anything copy and pasted, anything within a web page title. We do also integrate directly with Microsoft Teams, your Teams tenancy. Now this is really powerful because not only does it allow you to choose what channels you are and aren't monitoring, but it also means that we can provide safeguarding keyword monitoring for students who log into their Microsoft Teams account on unmanaged devices. If a student was to go home and log in on their grandma's computer to their Microsoft Teams environment and start typing horrible things in the channels or the chats, we can still capture that against their logon credentials. Not against the device because it's not installed, the software isn't installed on that device, but the logged on credentials we can. The app and keyword list. This will allow us, where I mentioned earlier, to adjust websites and applications to be high risk, low risk, medium risk, which goes towards the overall risk analysis score. You can also choose to not monitor certain websites. Now, example could be eating disorder support website. Now, certain websites and topics that students are looking at online may be private, and you may wish to give students that level of privacy on their own personal matters, and you can choose to not monitor anything that is typed within those particular websites. Report a concern. This is the ability to enable report a concern and also choose the contacts that will be available for the students to select from. Safeguarding alerts. These are email alerts. So this is where you will automatically receive an email when a student triggers a keyword of a particular threshold. Now I can create multiple email alerts going to different people based on different things. So I can add an alert in here. I can select a member of my safeguarding team or multiple people at this point, and I could say anytime an urgent or high severity keyword relating to self-harm, suicide and well-being is triggered, it will now automatically email all these users. I will receive an email which we can display an image of now, which will say this student on this device in this class has typed this keyword on this website at this time, click here to review it. And by clicking the link to review, it will take you back to the safeguarding console we were looking at a moment ago and open the window for that particular case and for you to review it. So this is really important to obviously prompt people to higher profile cases and concerns, whereas we don't want a complete reliance on people to just simply be accessing the safeguarding console. Again, you can create multiple alerts for different thresholds and criteria. Talking about the safeguarding groups earlier as well, let's say you've got Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. You could have email alerts for Key Stage 1 go to member of staff A, and you could have Key Stage 2 alerts triggered by students in that group go to member of staff B. Another way just for you to really fine-tune and tailor the solution to your preference and the way that your staff manage safeguarding data. Further to that, we've got a safeguarding summary report. Now this is a way that you can create an in-depth report for your staff, either on a daily basis, so I could get a rolling 24-hour report of keyword data every Monday at 9 o'clock, or every day, sorry, at 9 o'clock. I could do it weekly and say every Monday at 9 o'clock. I want a weekly breakdown of keywords that have been triggered amongst this group of criteria. I could also say monthly, and I want that on the first of every month. I'd like a monthly breakdown of all keyword data relating to drugs that is urgent and high severity, based on new keywords, and that will now provide me that monthly breakdown of drug new keywords. I can create multiple reports, I can assign that to multiple people, it could be all categories, and I could just have a weekly breakdown on a Monday of all safeguarding data produced by a certain device group, user group, or category. That will also be sent to you in an email form, so you can open the link there and it will provide for you the report. And you can very easily, within the safeguarding console, when you've got your reports and your breakdown of data, there is the ability to export all that information to a CSV spreadsheet, which you can then send to anybody, save as a attachment within CPOMs or in a shared drive somewhere. One other thing, within the safeguarding console is time settings. This is very important for devices that may be going home with students. For devices that are in school, naturally they would be monitored 24/7. Devices provided by the schools to students, whether they're on-site or off-site, may well be monitored 24/7 as well. However, if you've got a personal one-to-one device setup, a BYOD setup, or you're not keen on monitoring students with devices that are sent home with them, you can adjust the monitoring hours within the software to be the hours of the school day. And that therefore means we are only capturing safeguarding data on weekdays between 9 o'clock and 3:30. We can put in our term dates in here so we know that it's half term or the summer holidays, because we don't want to monitor them on a Wednesday at midday during half term when they're at home for the holidays. Additionally, particularly with mobile devices, laptops, Chromebooks, etc., we can add in whether we're monitoring based on an IP address or wireless network. And why is this good? It means that if students are walking into school, connecting to our Wi-Fi, we will monitor what they're doing on their devices. Again, could be personal devices. If they were to walk out of school, disconnect from our wireless network, they're not on our IP range anymore, we wouldn't monitor anything they do. And this is a great way to ensure privacy and also communicate to students and parents who may be using personal devices that we will only monitor what you do within the school's network, and that would also probably align quite nicely with your cyber security policies as well around students being monitored on school networks for what they're doing. Further to that, there is an activity logging system in the software, which isn't directly a safeguarding tool, but the internet usage, application usage, and login history of every device across the network can be a very powerful tool to export activity records on a student. And it may be that if there is a safeguarding concern raised about a student, we may want to pull off their recent internet history and see if anything in there aligns or sheds light on anything that they were looking at, maybe additional context there. And that is the safeguarding module for classroom.cloud. The software is available on a free trial for 30 days, so you can sign up here on the main website or reach out to us and we can support you with a demonstration or any questions that you need answering. Thanks very much.